and he wrote an article about the social frontier facing the young modern single, and this is what he said. They hit puberty around 13, and many don't get married until they're past 30. That's 2 decades of coupling, uncoupling, hooking up, relationships, shopping around. This period isn't a transition anymore. It's a sprawling life stage, and nobody knows the rules. Once young people came a-callin' as part of courtship. Then they had dating and going steady. But the rules of courtship have dissolved. They've been replaced by ambiguity and uncertainty.
This pastor here has written one of the best relationship books. His book offers direction and guidance in a time when dating is no longer a transition period, but a sprawling life stage often filled with ambiguity, fear, and frustration. At first, we'll reframe the advantages to being single. Later on, we'll brainstorm what you can do with that time. Like he says, no one cries like the brokenhearted. The impulse within us to pair off into relationships is good, even powerful. However, what do you do if you want to get married, but the opportunity is not provided? Pine and worry the time away? This video and this book is to help guide people into navigating that time well. If you remember nothing else from this video, I want you to remember these next 2 clips.
Time is short. What is your life? It's even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. If someone had told me when I was 20 years old that life was very short and would pass just like that, I wouldn't have believed it. And if I tell you that, you don't believe it either. I cannot get young people to understand how brief life is, how quickly it passes.
Singleness, the opportunities of singleness are perishable goods. That helped me when I was in my 20s. I just realized singleness is gonna end. And so the benefits that come from being single will end. And namely their freedom and time. Like when you get in a relationship, you're gonna lose a lot of that freedom.
Right. For now, listen to what Sadie Robertson had to say on the impact of this book in her life.
You know, we need that. We need a guide. I think especially nowadays we have a lot of different guides. We have like The Bachelor and all these different shows that are giving us this idea of relationship that's not rooted in a biblical principle, and you gave us that. You've already answered all my questions because of this book. So I'm honestly so thankful for this book. I've told you that so many times. You know, we gave this book away to like 2,000 people because we just love the words in that book. But just backstory for people who don't know. And the very first thing Christian sent me, if you scroll all the way up to the very top of our text, is your message, single, dating, engaged, married. So this message, before even really we read the book, we listened to your sermons on it. Man. And then, you know, the book also impacted our life so much. So,
And when you're single, you just go, man, you have freedom, and it will go away. And kids will change it too. It'll go away. So you want to leverage the opportunities in your stage. And I think what happens with a lot of us is we see the benefits of a different stage and the limitations of our own, and we're always unhappy. But if you can discipline yourself to go, my stage has particular benefits that are perishable, then you want to maximize them. I don't want to waste a second of this. And I think when we think singleness goes on forever, we'll waste time on our phones and go, no, wait, I can travel the world now. I can go make a difference in my city now. And there's a lot of gifts God's given us in singleness, and I just don't want people to miss it. And
I had a single girl on our staff once a couple years ago ask me, have you seen this show? No. Have you seen this show? No. Have you seen this show? No. And she's like, how have you not seen these shows? And I said, I have 3 kids under the age of 7. I said, I have 30 minutes of discretionary time every day with which to do what I choose. You have options here. And I love the way Jim Elliot said it, let not our longings slay our appetite for living. And he was saying this to someone who was yearning to be married. He says, it's not wrong to long for that, but don't let that longing slay your appetite for living. It'll literally drive you crazy. And so we are hardwired by God to be connected to other people. So for those of you who are single, I talked to some that feel maybe a sense of shame about the intensity of their longing for connection. And let me just tell you that we're wired for it. You're meant for it. And though it may not be met romantically right now, it can be met in community. Some of those emotional needs God's given you. The book of Romans says that we are not just in the body of Christ if you've come to know Jesus. It says, but we're made members of one another.
Alongside you. So that's the first sifting criteria for me, is you want the same cause. Because if you bind yourself to someone who's chasing something else, all that tension's on your marriage bond. And I mean, when I got into church ministry, Sadie, I talked to a lot of women who were divorced, that they married a guy because he was cute and funny. And when they got married, his values were totally different. So his decisions were totally different. And it put all the strain on their marriage bond. So you needed to go, are they chasing after the things of God? If they're not, let them run right on by. And then you look for a godly character. And are they being shaped by God's character? Because you want a Christian that when they showed up for you, you go, hey, he was pursuing honorable sexuality before he met me. He wasn't just doing it for me. He wasn't just doing it because I was cute and he was trying to get married to me. Because what happens if something goes wrong and I don't get cute? I have a medical issue that suddenly messes me up. Will he still be there for me? You want to know someone that's got their sexuality under control outside of their commitment to you. So you want to look for that character. And then the last piece is chemistry. Do I like hanging out with them? And that's not nothing, because most of marriage is hanging out. And obviously there's a million things we need to say underneath all this, but those are like the big pictures. Are we chasing the same cause? Do they have a God-shaped character? And then chemistry. Do I like hanging out with them? Do I look forward to talking to them? Or are they a drain? And I talk to so many people that stay in relationships because they think they're supposed to, and they sort of don't look forward to talking to the person on the phone. You're like, you don't have to do this to each other.
How do you know what to focus your time on if you have so many different passions?
I always tend to really focus on one at one point in time, and then you figure out if that's going to be the one. So I've had a lot of moments in my life where in the beginning, it was basketball. I was obsessed with playing basketball. Then 3 or 4 years later, okay, wait, I don't think this is it. And it's just a lot of like trial and error, go full on with what you're stoked about now, because it's a great thing if you found a passion. The harder thing is to be aimlessly wandering around the world and nothing lighting a fire underneath your butt, right? That is the actual problem. So if you have things that you like, if you have too many things, oh, that's great. Like, go and do all of those things. Really focus on one. If it turns out, it's not working out, then go to the next thing.
So that's pretty good advice if you're in the fortunate position where you've got multiple things that you're passionate about, but you're not really sure which one to go for. But if you're sitting there and thinking, well, I don't really have any passions apart from video games and anime or whatever, then I would suggest you're probably not doing enough exploration. And that's something that's talked about in this book, Grit by Angela Duckworth. She talks about why passion and resilience are the secrets to success. And there's a great quote, which is that passion for your work is a little bit of discovery, followed by a lot of development and then a lifetime of deepening. And so if you haven't yet found the thing or things that you're passionate about, then I would suggest tentatively that it's all about doing a bit of exploration, stepping outside the comfort zone, and then eventually you'll find something that you just, want to throw yourself into.